welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel Ray, and today I have a very special guest, a special guest named James. Hello, James.
Hi, everybody.
Today we're going to be doing a Theory Tuesday video, and I'm really excited to share what we're working on today. But just in case you don't want to be spoiled, please look away because parts of this canvas are visible. This is the mystery Christmas kit from last year from Diamond Art Club called Christmas House. So this is your last warning. Look away if you don't want to see it. By the way, this is the Cryptid Stitch Along by Witchy Stitcher, which sparked this series. So here we go. Hello, everyone. Just as an aside, I was filming this while under heavy pain medication. So I do sound a little loopy, and sometimes I sound a little bit, I don't know, out of it. So please forgive me. There was no better time to film this. I'm doing fine, but I just wanted to warn you in advance that this episode is especially raw for me. I hope you enjoy. Okay, we'll start a new section. And hi.
How's it going?
Not too bad. How's you?
Alright, I'm alright, like.
New section. There's only 3 sections left on this diamond painting to do. And I'm very excited to get this done. I was hoping I could get it done by the end of the month, but I don't know. We'll see. Do you think I could do it? There's 31 days.
I mean, if anyone can, you can, yeah.
Aw, thanks, babe. All right, so what are we gonna talk about today?
Well,
Luna wants to know too. Hi, baby.
I haven't had a lot of time lately, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're kind of heading into the winter, but we're not quite there yet. Mm-hmm. And during the winter, I'll have more time. Oops.
Sorry.
Because there's less gardening to be done and stuff like that.
Yes, Luna. Hi. You want to be on the camera too?
It's a crazy dog.
Yes.
So I thought, because we did the Skinwalker Ranch one,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought it'd be interesting to kind of read the next Skinwalker Ranch book, which just came out last year.
What about?
Or did it? I believe actually it came out in April of this year, at the beginning of this year.
Okay.
So I bought it anyway,
Okay.
and I read the introduction,
Mm-hmm.
and straight away I was like, oh, because like a little. I think the thing for me is that like.
Well, what is this book called, and who's it by?
It's called Skinwalkers at the Pentagon. No joke. And it's by Colin Kelleher and George Knapp and a guy called James Lukatsky. I think his name is James Lukatsky. Dr. James Lukatsky. And
is he a zoomorphologist?
he's not a zoomorphologist, no. I think he's actually a physicist. I haven't looked into it yet.
Okay.
Because, like, just as a little personal history, what happened with me was that, when the internet came along in the kind of 90s and stuff like that, when I went to uni,
Mm-hmm.
and suddenly there was the internet, and you're like, oh my god, I could look up anything I want,
Mm-hmm.
And because of my interest in weirdness, I started looking up all UFO stuff, and I got mad into it,
Yeah.
But, like, the Skinwalker stuff came along in kind of the early noughties. And at that stage, when I read the Skinwalker stuff originally, which was kind of interviews with Colin Kelleher and George Knapp,
Mm-hmm.
I just went, this is getting ridiculous, and I just walked away from it.
Okay.
And I never really looked back as such,
Until.
Yeah, I mean, until this whole thing happened with the cryptids and stuff,
Okay.
that you're talking about. And then I started looking into it again, and I was surprised that Skinwalker Ranch has become a massive part of the whole mythology.
Mm.
Because the thinking now is that that all of these things, the cryptids, all of these things, the UFOs and all of the weirdness, it's all part of one thing.
Like it's all connected or something?
Yeah.
Oh.
And it kind of surprised me. But I guess when I started reading this, I was struck. I've always been struck by how deeply embedded in popular culture all of this stuff is, like UFOs in particular.
Yeah.
And how people don't realize just how deeply embedded it is. And I read the introduction to Skinwalkers at the Pentagon.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, wow, this is actually blowing my mind. And I thought it would be interesting to read that book and maybe do it in 3 or 4 chunks. You know, we'll read a couple of chapters and then try and
we discuss it.
Yeah, exactly. And
Okay.
discuss the characters involved in it.
Okay.
And the mechanics of it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, and to a lot of people, I mean, this obviously isn't an original idea in any way, like, but to me it's a kind of modern mythology.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah.
And you can see it being built in real time. And much like a lot of, I suppose, you know, if you wanted to get pretentious, you could almost call it like this Jungian archetype kind of collective unconscious idea, you know what I mean?
Mm.
Because that's what these characters represent, do you know?
Okay.
And you can watch this folklore being built in real time.
Yeah.
So then I thought, let's start talking about it, and we'll see if we can get somewhere where we tie up the characters, the mythology, the pop culture, all of it, all at once, just for the crack.
Okay.
And let's see where we get, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then because these things have started to accelerate, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because of the amount of media available. But when you go researching them, which I think was something that happened to me as well on the internet sometime in the early noughties, like, it turns out that all of the things you're reading are from the same source, and there's no real hard evidence or primary source, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And someone will take the same evidence or the same story and put their spin on it,
Right.
and present that as new evidence.
And that's folklore.
Yeah, exactly, and that's folklore, you know.
Yeah.
And that's that's essentially what we're doing here as well. Every time we have a laugh about it, you know what I mean?
True.
So I suppose, and then all of these things are coming, you know, there's more and more stuff being added all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So have you ever heard of the Calvine UFO?
No.
Okay. And I wanted to do it, and then I thought, well, this is all part of it. Let's fold the Calvine UFO just to begin with. So the Calvine UFO, Calvine is a place in the Highlands of Scotland. And in 1990, 2 guys that were working at a local hotel were up hiking in the Highlands. Now, you know, the Highlands they're really underpopulated.
Right.
And they're really remote. So the guys were hiking up there around Calvine, and they saw a massive triangular UFO, kind of diamond-shaped UFO floating in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
And it was there for about 15 minutes. And while they were watching it, they claimed that an RAF jet, or in some versions of the story, 2 RAF jets, started flying around it.
Is that Royal Air Force?
It's the Royal Air Force, yeah, RAF, yeah. So they claimed that 2 of these jets started like doing flybys on it, and they got a photograph of it.
Okay.
And they send the photograph to the Daily Record, which is the biggest tabloid newspaper in Scotland.
Okay.
And then that newspaper released a story saying that they had this irrefutable proof of a UFO photograph and they were going to publish it.
Mm-hmm.
But the next day they printed a retraction and said that they weren't allowed to publish it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Spicy.
And they actually had the negative. The people that had taken the photograph sent them the negative.
Mm.
And they claim that they put the negative in an envelope and they sent it to the MOD, which is the Ministry of Defence, which
Right.
is the equivalent of the Department of Defence in Britain or in America, you know.
Okay.
And they claim they sent that there. Now, at the time, in the 90s, in the 80s and the 90s, a guy called Nick Pope was the press officer in the MOD. Do you know who Nick Pope is?
No.
If you Google Nick Pope, he is a massive character in the UFO preferment, I suppose you'd say.
Okay.
Like, he's huge. He was a civil servant for about 20 years. He worked in the press department for the Ministry of Defence, and he handled the UFO desk. And he claims that this was the most amazing photograph that he'd ever seen, and that he was advised to put a secret order on it, like that it was classified top secret, you know? And the MOD put their highest classification, whereby this is owned by them and cannot be viewed until 2070, which is 80 years.
Like, viewed publicly, is it?
Yeah, you know the way like you've got different layers of secrecy. Like, something is relatively secret, that'll be 10 years. Do you know what I mean? It's sensitive to trade negotiations or defense or something, you know?
Oh, okay.
And then it goes up and up. This 80 years is the most that you can kind of put a stop on it. Yeah? So Pope anyway said that it was that amazing that he had it printed out, a copy of it made, and he put it on his desk with a frame around it to remind him that these things are more mysterious and more real and everything, you know? So that's the crack. And it remained secret for a very, very long time. Until about 2 weeks ago.
Oh.
When they published it. Now...
But it's not 2070 yet.
No, it's not. But there's this guy called Dave Clark. And Dave Clark is Professor Dave Clark, as a matter of fact, from the University of Sheffield. And he works in the journalism department. Mm-hmm. Now, he's published several books on UFOs in Britain and stuff like that. And his story from his own website is that this guy, I didn't take his name down and I'm not going to look it up now, but this guy that was in military intelligence in Britain had a copy of the photograph. And through dogged investigative work, he tracked him down. Mm-hmm. And he said that, like, he literally knocked on the dude's door, and the dude, like, in his, like, 70s or 80s, opened the door and was like, "What do you want?" And he goes, I'm Dave Clark from the University of Sheffield. I'm wondering if you could tell me anything about the Calvine UFO thing. And the guy went, "I was wondering when someone would call. Come on in." Brings him in, makes him a cup of tea, shows him the photograph.
For real? For
real. That's what he said on his website. It's daveclark.co.uk if you want to go check it out. Okay. That's what he said. And the guy had a hard copy, but no negative. And he gave Clark the hard copy. And Clark has released the image, you know?
Okay.
Now, this is the most secretive image. Like, this, like when I was younger looking into UFOs, like, this was the holy grail of UFOs. Like, the MOD is scared about what will happen if you see this image, you know?
Okay.
Do you want to see this image?
Is this gonna, like, wreck my brain or something?
Oh, wait till you see.
I have a feeling it will.
Wait until you see this. That's it there.
Sorry. That was me squinting.
Can you describe what you're looking at there?
I mean, I kind of want to say it, but I kind of don't as well.
What is it?
Is that just like a rock sticking out of a lake?
That's exactly what everyone says about it.
Okay.
And people have zoomed in on it and noticed that there looks like on the left-hand side there that there are little trees and stuff. But anyway, this is the most secretive photograph.
Oh, Jesus.
In the history of UFOs. Now Dave Clark said that this is only a copy of a copy and that he's working on getting a better scanner so that you can see the actual real image.
A better scanner.
I honestly don't know who he thinks he's talking to.
Oh,
like,
my goodness.
There's a Pixma 520 over there. That could stand.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, what are you talking about, Dave? But anyway, this is the gentleman then. I know people won't see that, but this is the gentleman that had the photograph. Like,
all you have to do is Google Calvine UFO.
I actually can't believe that you looked at it and straight away went, "That's a rock in a lake." But this is, do you know, like, this is kind of, I guess this is where I'm coming from as well, is that, like, you know, this is nothing. Do you know, it's not impressive.
Why would they put it under secrecy, though? Like, why would they?
Who knows? There is one thing I noticed when I was digging into it as well, is that, like, the Daily Record is a tabloid newspaper in Scotland, you know? And there's this particular type of order. I really should have... I haven't taken any notes for this, despite how good my note-taking usually is. Like, so let's call this top secret order an Order 21B. Okay?
21B.
Yeah. So what happens is that the editor of the Daily Record was actually on the board. A 21B is when the Ministry of Defence comes to a media outlet and says you cannot talk about this story and you cannot do anything, you know?
Yeah.
And the editor of the Daily Record at that time was one of the people on the panel from the media, on the MOD panel, that decided about these things.
Okay.
Now, I don't want to say attempted media frenzy to sell tabloid newspapers, but I guess I'm going to say attempted media frenzy to sell tabloid newspapers. Do you know?
Distract the population.
Yeah, but I mean, it's wholly unimpressive, isn't it?
Totally.
Now, if you compare this to the footage that was released by the Department of Defense Air Force guys in the States in 2017, I mean, that's convincing, you know?
That could be Photoshop, but at least it is convincing.
But it's moving video. You've got actual, like, whatever you want to say, like, someone who's a pilot, like you and me, if we're traveling on an airplane, like, you know, a jetliner is different than traveling in basically the roadster of the sky, like a fighter jet, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, they're traveling many times faster, they're tiny, you've got a better view, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, these guys know what's up there. And if they're going, good golly, look at that thing.
Spend a lot of time up there, and yeah.
Yeah, so that's, what I'm saying is that's convincing, you know? Yeah. And I guess, like, I don't want to say everyone's in this because it's a bit of a LARP. It's partially a LARP, and it's partially, you know, you can get famous doing these things. And you can get on the circuit, and then you're traveling from the University of Sheffield, or you're home in London and you're going to, like, Arizona to a conference, and then you're
business expenses.
Yeah, exactly.
Traveling.
And it's good crack as well, like, you know, like, over there talking about it. But this guy, anyway, Dave Clark, that brought out this photo, like, his part of his research interest as an academic is in the folkloric nature of the whole thing, you know. Yeah. So anyway, do you want to start getting into the Skinwalker Ranch and see what we?
Of course, yeah.
Can you remember some of the characters involved in the Skinwalker Ranch story? Or?
To be honest, James, I'd have to go back and watch it again. So I will take this opportunity to welcome our viewers to go back through the playlist. I'll link them in the description box. The Skinwalker Ranch episodes that we did. First of all, they're hilarious. But also, just as a refresher, because you asking me that right now, when we did that like a year ago.
Was it really a year ago?
It was almost a year ago.
Oh my
it was
God.
At least 9 months ago.
Yeah, because we didn't do these for ages, didn't we?
No. But, no, I can't confidently say that I remember everyone's name or anything.
I suppose part of the thing that I was saying to you is that I was surprised at how much, how big a part of the UFO mythology Skinwalker Ranch had become. Because at the time, George Knapp was big, always big in the UFO circles. Do you know who George Knapp is?
I do.
Yeah?
I mean, are you quizzing? Is this?
I'm just trying to figure out.
Is this a Unity course?
No, I'm just trying to figure out how much you remember, or
I mean,
how much I should say, or, you know.
You can say as much as you feel.
He's a journalist based in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Yes.
And he was the guy that brought this character called Bob Lazar to light in the early 90s.
And Bob Lazar was the person that had the ranch.
Bob Lazar is a person that claims he worked in S4 at Area 52. 51? Area 51. Sorry.
52.
I had an awful lot of pasta. Yeah, at Area 51. He claimed he worked at Area 51 and he claimed he was an engineer back engineering UFOs. And his legend is still going. Literally 30 years later, people are still arguing about whether he's real or not. You know, he still comments from time to time.
Okay.
He's still involved in it. George Knapp is the guy that brought him up. And George, up until that point, had been, you know, a local TV news reporter guy. Quite big, quite respected, you know?
Okay.
He's still very much respected, of course, like, but he's kind of leaned more heavily into kind of the UFO stuff.
Yeah.
And obviously he wrote the Skinwalker book with Colm Kelleher, and he's written this Skinwalker book, and he's done a number of them. He's hooked up with this guy called Jeremy Corbell now at the moment. And Jeremy Corbell is basically just retreading everything that Knapp has done. Like, he's not adding anything new. We could get into him probably later on, but anyway, this is the crack. And he's the guy that got into the whole Skinwalker Ranch and all that. And the guy that owns Skinwalker Ranch is a guy called Bob Bigelow, Robert Bigelow.
Oh, Bob Bigelow, right.
Bob Bigelow, yeah.
Sorry, I got them.
And he owns a company called Bigelow Aerospace.
Why are so many Bobs?
I don't know, man.
Anyway.
He's Bob Bigelow. And Bob Bigelow is like, he made his money in hotels.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's basically where he made his money. But he started this company called Bigelow Aerospace. Yeah?
Yeah.
And this is where we can get back on track and back to the book.
Okay.
So, do you know who Harry Reid is? Senator Harry Reid.
Is he an Arizona senator?
He certainly is.
Okay.
Or hang on, he's actually a Nevada senator.
Okay, close enough.
Yeah? So he's a senator from Nevada. He was born in a place called Searchlight, which is just such a cool name for
Searchlight Pictures.
Maybe so.
There's a Searchlight Picture.
There is a Searchlight Pictures, yeah. But he's from a place called Searchlight, Nevada.
Okay. And
he kind of grew up there, and you know, he talks in the introduction about how Searchlight was a big mining town, and you know, by the time he was born, the mining boom by and large was late 19th to early 20th century.
Right.
And when he was born, the boom had stopped and there was only a couple of hundred people living there and stuff like that, you know.
It's like a ghost town, yeah.
Yeah, but there was still a lot of mining going on. I was going to show you a picture of Harry Reid, yeah? But I want you to picture a US senator and try and describe like a picture that was taken by the official photographer of the Senate of a US senator, and try and describe what
year was it?
It was, let's say this is 2012.
Okay.
What colour suit is he wearing?
Blue.
You're damn right he's wearing a blue suit. What does he look like?
White hair, no beard.
Yes.
Probably short hair.
Yes.
I mean, that's kind of normal.
What age is he?
60s, 70s?
Yes. Where is he standing?
Wait, in relation to what?
Well, like, he's had his picture taken, it's outside. Where is he?
He's probably outside of a church or a building, like a... my computer just made a noise. A mayoral building? I don't know. I can't.
He's leaning against the balustrade of the Capitol building.
Okay, so looks, a mayoral, yeah, a government building.
This is 100% what the picture of Harry Reid looks like.
Okay.
There's another person. There's another famous person from Searchlight, and I'm going to show you a picture of her, and I want you to tell me. Her name is Edith Head. And I'm going to show you the picture, and I want you to tell me if you've seen her before.
Edith Head. All right.
All right, here we go.
That's a UFO.
That's a UFO.
That's not a UFO. That's a rock.
You recognize Edith
Oh
Head?
my god, yeah. She's a fashion designer or something.
She is a fashion designer.
Yeah, she's quite famous, actually.
She is. Can you say anything else about her?
Okay. I'm trying to make connections in my mind. Like, what would she have to do with them? Does she have anything to do with them?
She's... Okay, this is...
Because I can't imagine how those two wheelhouses
Well, it's just... She was actually born in Beverly Hills and stuff like that, but her mom married this mining engineer, and they moved all over the whole kind of Nevada, New Mexico, Utah area.
Yeah.
But she claims that the only
You
place...
okay, dog?
The only place she ever remembers living for any period of time was Searchlight. And I just thought it was interesting because, like, she's a real person, but the character in The Invincibles that designs their clothing is based on her.
Oh, yeah.
Edna Mode?
Edna Mode, yeah.
Edna Mode, yeah. It's based on her.
Yeah. You didn't know that?
No, I just think it's brilliant.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah.
And
I mean, I knew that, but like they also have a picture of Edna Mode there. But I mean, yes, if you look at Edith Head,
definitely, yeah.
You could definitely see the correlation there.
I just thought it was interesting, like. But anyway, so Harry Reid, anyway, like, talks about, you know, his time there and everything like that. And he talks about going into the Senate.
Searchlight.
In Searchlight. He grew up in Searchlight, etc., etc. God, I'm really bad at keeping a tight narrative.
It's okay.
He grew up in Searchlight, and then he kind of took political office and all that, and for ages he was head of the Las Vegas, Nevada, right? Nevada Gaming Commission, which is a very powerful political position in Nevada on account of
the casinos.
And do you know the Scorsese movie Casino?
Yes.
A guy called Dick Smothers plays him in the Scorsese movie Casino.
What an unfortunate name.
Dick Smothers. Whatever do you mean? He was part of the comedy duo from the 60s, the Smother Brothers. No joke, that's a real thing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
I just think it's funny that all of these people get played in movies, like, and he talks about his time in the Senate, right? And he'd always been kind of interested in UFOs.
Okay.
Area 51, of course, is in Nevada.
Yes.
You know? And he met... Huh?
It's in New Mexico.
Area 51?
It's in Roswell.
No. Roswell's in New Mexico. Groom Lake is in Nevada.
Oh, they're different?
Yeah.
Oh.
It went down in New Mexico.
Yeah.
In Roswell, New Mexico and all that. But then the legend is that the stuff was moved to Groom Lake, Nevada.
Oh.
And that's where the research, because...
That's why I'm getting confused.
Yeah, because the Air Force have a whole base there and stuff like that. But he recounts his time in the Senate and stuff like that, you know? Mm-hmm. And he said that while he was there, he made a friendship with this guy, Senator John Glenn. Do you know who Senator John Glenn is?
This name sounds familiar.
John Glenn is the first American to orbit the Earth in 1962.
Ah.
He did 3 orbits of the Earth. He ran for political office in the 70s. He got into the Senate. He spent up until I think it could be the noughties or the teens, you know, in the Senate.
Okay.
And he's also a guy where he appeared on Frasier. John Glenn, astronaut, appeared on an episode of Frasier.
Yeah.
Where where they were doing a special on space, you know. And there's a whole series of events. I mean, you've seen Frasier, where what's the name of the producer in that? Roz Roz and Fraser start arguing. And while they're arguing, John Glenn in the background goes into a monologue about how he'd seen unusual things in space. And NASA made him shut up about it. But all of them had seen it. They all knew there were things out there you couldn't explain. You know what I mean? And it goes on and on and on. And then basically they don't notice because they're fighting, and they don't notice that this guy is giving away about aliens, you know?
Yeah.
And it's a whole, I mean, it's a sitcom, so it's a gag. But it became such a bit of wildfire in the UFO community. Because John Glenn also made comments when he came back about these sparkling lights that would follow him and all that. But it turned out it's actually when you're burning rocket fuel from the adjusting rockets.
Yeah.
You're producing ice crystals, and the ice crystals glitter and stuff.
Yeah.
And he even said that afterwards. He was like, "No, I was just saying it's kind of beautiful. You can see many more stars than you can see on the planet Earth, and you know the crystals follow you and stuff." But anyway, no one really buys that because they want to
believe.
Yeah, they want to hear someone that's been outside the planet tell you about aliens, you know?
Yeah.
That's the crack. John Glenn then was played by Ed Harris in the 1983 film The Right Stuff.
The Right Stuff.
You know what Clint Eastwood's in that?
I can't remember if I've seen it or not.
Anyway, it's a movie about the thing. But again, another guy that's in a movie, that's had people play him in a movie, and he's appeared in sitcoms, and you know.
Yeah, another guy in the thing. Are we getting close?
Close to what?
To reaching the thing.
What's the thing?
I mean, is it just all made up to keep us from paying attention to the more important things? Because if these people are all getting involved in the media, like, do you know where I'm going with this?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a hypothesis. I'm just
You're spitballing.
I'm spitballing. I'm making observations. You know, I'm just asking questions, Rachel.
What?
Just asking
no,
questions.
I'm asking you questions.
I just think it's interesting, like, you know. And then you have Harry Reid anyway in the introduction, talks about how God, I should have, like, I literally bought this about 3 or 4 weeks ago and read the introduction and was like, I'll leave it there. We've got a lot to talk about, and now I can't remember, but I think maybe that Knapp or someone had introduced him to Bob Bigelow, and him and Bob Bigelow started talking, you know, and this would have been in the early noughties.
Bob Bigelow, who now has
used to
a massive TV show.
No. This Bob Bigelow used to own Skinwalker Ranch, and he sold it to that guy, Feig. Is that his name? Yeah, but no, a different guy, a property developer from Salt Lake City bought it and moved his own guys in. But he's basically doing the same thing that Bigelow did, where he like gets slightly reputable scientists. Although how reputable Travis Taylor is, like Travis Taylor has advanced degrees up the wazoo, but he gained fame by being on History Channel documentaries and writing a book about the science behind The Secret. You remember that book, The Secret?
Oh dear.
Yeah, I know. That alone is frightening. But that's I guess that's what I wanted to talk about, is this kind of like free rolling conversation about all these crazy personalities that are involved in it. Do you know what I mean?
It just feels a bit like theater.
It is theater. It is 100% theater. What is the fact? What is, in fact, a fact is that in the early noughties, Harry Reid was introduced to Bob Bigelow. Bob Bigelow was starting his aerospace organization.
Yes.
He had also bought Skinwalker Ranch, and he spoke to Reid about Skinwalker Ranch, and he spoke to Reid about aliens. And Reid said that he had always been a little bit interested in the UFO stuff. That's how he got to know George Knapp, because Knapp had brought the Lazar stuff out.
Okay.
And he was in his jurisdiction, literally his jurisdiction.
Right.
Or is that what you call it when you're a politician?
I think so.
And
We're not politicians. So.
No, what did you call it? It's a different word. Gosh.
Constituency?
Yes, he was in his constituency. He was a constituent, and so was Bob Lazar, as a matter of fact. And that's how he got to know these dudes. And then he met with Bob Bigelow.
Mm-hmm.
And what is actually a fact is that he was quite taken by Bigelow and all of this talk of UFOs. And he secured 22 million in funding to give to Bigelow and start the original UFO research program.
He had 22 million.
He appropriated 22 million in funding to fund through the Department of Defense to fund Bigelow to start an organization called ASAP.
Through the Department of Defense.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Forgive me while I just become a massive pain in the hole.
Yeah.
So the government gave these people money. What? I thought that this was just like some pet film project kind of thing. I thought we were going to go into like Blair Witch territory here.
No, this is a real thing. It's a real thing, like. Wow. Yeah, and Harry Reid secured that money, like. And he gave it to Bob Bigelow. And Bob Bigelow started looking into UFOs. At the same time, Reid also put people in contact with Bigelow, and the Department of Defense provided scientists. Now, I haven't started reading this yet,
right,
but I suspect that this guy, Jim Lukatsky, is one of the people that were provided on the side of the Department of Defense to go down and research at Skinwalker Ranch.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yep.
Are we all on board?
We're on board.
And I guess that's kind of where we stand at the moment. I haven't read any more of the book.
I need to know more. You need to do 2 chapters at a time.
I'll read a load of them, and I mean we're not going to.
Where do you stand with this? Because when you say it like that, I mean,
do you know, like, I think it's all kind of grift and stuff, you know. I mean, you've got because like I remember reading, like I say, when I started reading up on this stuff, it's like, oh my god, it literally hasn't changed in 22 years since the last time I looked into it. But that's not true. It has changed. Like, previously, UFOs were physical objects. Yeah?
Yeah.
Now they're not.
Right.
They're psychic objects, or they're projections from higher dimensions into our 4-dimensional space, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it'd be interesting to talk about that. And then, but the mechanics are the same. Like, I had personally never heard of this Travis Taylor guy, you know, until I saw him on that Skinwalker Ranch, the new one by this Feig guy, you know?
Yeah.
But then, when I actually looked into him, I was like, well, I do know who this dude is, because he showed up on that thing, like, what was
some
it?
history documentary.
Oh my god! Like, honestly, people deserve me to take notes and do better research. Like, he showed up on, like,
lose your job, man.
Do you know, like, it's like Secret America or something? You know, where it's got this guy and he's like, you know, he looks very like Travis Taylor, actually, but he's just got, like, he's got combat pants, and he's like, I'm a 22-year-old professor of geology, and I want to uncover the secrets of American history, you know, ones that are, do you know, and he's like, that mound of stones over there, that must mean the Vikings were here, or, you know what I mean, something like that. Is that the... Do you know the guy I'm talking about?
Cargo pants and the...
Yeah, they all have cargo pants and, like, chuck heads on them.
Dude, you're not going through the... Yeah.
Do you know the guy? Look,
I know the guy.
You know the guy I'm talking about?
I know him.
Do you remember I used to watch it in Korea and have a laugh at it?
Oh my gosh.
He had that thing where... But anyway, Travis Taylor shows up on that.
Flashbacks.
Don't get me wrong. Like Travis Taylor has a lot of advanced degrees. He certainly has a lot more than me. He has more than anyone I know. But like, I feel like you're not a serious scientist.
Like an online university. Like, how do you do that?
No. He's got serious degrees. Like he's got like patents in laser technology and stuff like that. But like being a smart, astute person might make you more capable of grifting suckers. Is kind of what I'm trying to say as well. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, yeah.
And like what your man Feig that owns the place now is doing is no different to what Bigelow was doing. I feel like he's a little bit more savvy, and like, not to say that someone that's because Bigelow himself is an astute businessman. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. All these guys are in real estate as well, which is something interesting to point out. Do you know?
Coincidence?
Yeah. So I don't know. I will read the book, and I'll do maybe 3 or 4 chapters at a time, and we'll get it done in 2 or 3 episodes. Yeah?
Yeah.
Does that?
Yeah. Are you ready to read?
I'm ready to read, but will I make some predictions about what's going to happen here?
I think you should.
Okay.
People want to know what you think.
Let's see. There's going to be a lot of the Pentagon's up to something kind of stuff, but standard stuff like that.
Hiding something.
Yeah, and I think that the people that are writing it are going to try and make out like they're in more danger or they're being more harassed than they actually were. You know? Mm-hmm. I think that this is a different narrative. This is a different thread of the narrative. There's 2 competing narratives in UFOs at the moment. There's the massive Skinwalker Ranch one, which has been established for a long time. Mm-hmm. And then there's the To the Stars, Tom DeLonge, Luis Elizondo, Jim Simivan thread, you know?
Okay.
And near the twain do meet, you know? So you've got Kelleher, Knapp, Bigelow, all these guys on one side, and you've got Elizondo, Simivan, DeLonge on the other side. Mm. And it's I wonder how they're gonna make those 2 merge, but both of them seem to be saying the same thing. Like I said, when back 20 years ago, this was nuts and bolts stuff, and now they're talking about creatures from different dimensions. They're basically talking about the she, like that the aliens are the she.
Yeah.
You know. What else could I make?
Which we also have an episode about if you want to check it out. It's from Halloween last year.
What else could I predict here? Let me think.
We don't have time for thinking.
I think that they're going to give us a background to the whole thing, you know? And we can talk about that. What else could they do? It's going to be hard to say. I think that this one, different from because Skinwalker Ranch was such a great narrative for the first 2/3 of the book. Like the wolf that got shot. Yeah. You remember that one?
Yeah.
It got shot and didn't die, and all of those weird instances where they came down, like that fox that had the big tail on it, and was like messing with the things, and the blue orbs that drew away the hunting dogs, and then they got smoldered, like turned into like just something that you left in the oven overnight by accident.
Yeah.
And what else? The bit where they're trying to rescue the cattle, and the blue, like, get them away from the oh my god, what was, like, spurge or something that they were eating, and it would make alfalfa. The cattle were eating the alfalfa, and it was going to give them gas, like fatal gas.
Yeah.
And they had to try and get them back in. Like, what a great narrative, like. And then it just kind of petered out at the end. I don't think that this is going to be like that, but I think that this is going to be something like maybe X-Files-y, you know? They're going to be meeting people in parking garages. Going to be giving them the secrets that they don't want you to know, you know? I think there's going to be a lot of that. There's going to be a lot of that.
Maybe some, like, records, like digging through records or something.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope so, because like I think that in the last one, like Knapp was kind of underused as a journalist, because there wasn't a lot of that kind of nuts and bolts journalism, foying and what I mean. Like a lot of it was kind of hearsay and testimony,
Yeah.
I don't know if it makes it more reasonable if there's a bureaucratic trail on it, but it's more nuts and bolts thing or whatever. That's about it. I mean that's what I'm going to predict is this is going to be more espionage and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of hoping that they lean into this, like, almost like a spy novel. Do you know what I mean? That's the kind of feel that I'm anticipating from this. But just I'm so sorry to be so cynical right off the bat, but goodness gracious, like the amount of money that's involved in this.
But like in like 22 million is not a huge amount.
To whom?
To the Department of Defense.
Yeah, I suppose. When you put it that way. You know what I could do with 22 million? Could probably get this dog to stop coughing.
22 million is what the Department of Defense finds behind, like when they take the the cushions off the couch. That's what they find. 22 million.
When they move the Bigfoot costume.
To put it in, just off the top of my head, to put it in perspective, ATIP, the organization that came out of ASAP, the one that Reid started originally.
Yeah.
And then ATIP is the one that Luis Elizondo was in charge of and came out of. That was funded for 17 million, which, it's like, this is a drop in the ocean to the, will I say, military industrial complex?
I mean, yeah.
Oh, that's another thing. Okay. I think that it may, because like part of the theory with UFOs are top secret military equipment. Part of the theory is that sometime if I remember my mythology correctly, part of the theory is that sometime in the 80s, the guys within the government that were in charge of this kind of stuff started handing all of the materials and research that they had done over to private companies.
Yeah. Because
you can FOIA the government and eventually this information will come to light. But if you give it to private hands, no one can get that information.
Okay.
So I suspect that part of that might be in there. There might be part of this narrative. I have not read any reviews of this book or any background or anything like that.
Don't want to get spoiled.
Yeah, I just want to be fresh, like,
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's it. I suppose that's really all I have,
That's all I really have for us.
That's all I have for you, yeah.
That's all right. Thank you.
No problem, yeah.
Thank you for reading this for us and bringing us
I mean, I wish I was more prepared, but, I think
you should write notes next time.
Yeah, I was more, because I read it and I read the introduction and we were supposed to talk about it the next day, and that was like 3 weeks ago, and I was like, yeah, I'm sure I'll remember it. Just don't remember any of it. Like, no, none of it.
Okay, well, we'll make sure to do it more often.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you all so much for being here and listening to us ramble on about really random, weird, and wacky stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We appreciate you very much. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them down in the comment section below. And again, I will put links to everything used in this video down there too. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see y'all later.
Bye, everybody!
Bye!
Bye!